You know what the best thing about doing this live show for the past year has been is becoming an absolute expert on everything that's happening in Fort Collins, Colorado. And that's kind of why I started this in 2022 at the end when they passed the land development code and no one knew about it. But maybe there's just not methods or avenues where people like to gather their information. And hopefully this has helped over the last year. We've got about 6 more weeks to finish out the year, and we have not missed a single week, but I'm going on vacation at the end of December. We'll figure out what I got to do there to keep it going live. But this is Live in Fort Collins. We come to you every Thursday night, 5:30, talk to you about things that have happening, city council recap, and then also some developments under review. We haven't done too much developments under review, so we're focusing on what's happened, and city council, making those small adjustments and changes. But that being said, let's jump in. Now, the Poudre School District has really some pretty phenomenal programs that aren't necessarily sought out. There's a fraction of the over 9,000 students that go and seek out these different 18 programs, future ready. And there's just different options that kids can take to get associate's degrees, internships. My neighbor actually went to Fossil Ridge High School and came out and basically jumped in as a full-time plumber right after graduation. He's got his journeyman license, and essentially he just bought his own house last year in Laramie, Wyoming. And these programs are awesome, but the McQuinneys who purchased the Foothills Mall are now setting up shop Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for people to come in and get information about the Poudre School District and different programs that they have, the Future Ready programs. Super awesome. Let's see here. A historic review of the Spradley bar parking lot. There is some really great development ideas that are going on that really kind of run down corner of Drake and College, but there's where Sherwin-Williams used to be, and this building kind of sucks. But was built in the 60s, is kind of having a holdup, and may actually get historic landmark preservation and put some sort of crimp in the development plans that these developers have to build, basically an entire city block where currently there's just a rundown parking lot of cars that's very few cars anymore. King Soopers is going to be developed to the north. So definitely something to watch. And if those development plans change to keep that building, integrate it into the development, or how that will all work. The petitioners are seeking repeal. The clock started. They have 20 days from I believe it was November 8th. So they have until November 28th to get about 4,200 signatures to repeal the land use code. I myself am definitely not going to sign it. I think since 1997, they've updated, this land use code. I think they did a great job of outreach to Fort Collins. And essentially, it's just too intricate of a policy to be put to the voters. Not necessarily, and I honestly think if how the voters voted last week, they would potentially pass the original land development code. So that being said, we'll see how that all goes and transpires, but they have until November 28th to get about 4,200 signatures to repeal or put back to the city council, whether it is to repeal or put it to the voters, the land use code change 2.0. Speaking about developments under review, we don't talk too much about it, but currently there's about 350 units going through the planning and zoning. A 7-story condo unit off of Cherry, Polestar on the west side of Fort Collins, at about 110 for sale for rent units, and then also a development off of Willix. So these developments, the continuation, we will get to the economic health plan here shortly by the city of Fort Collins, but the growth, the development, the desire of people living in and around Fort Collins continues. I don't see it slowing down, but those are just a few of the projects that are going through development review right now. Now, what's happening? Well, Thanksgiving is next week. It is amazing how quick it came. We got rained on today, which was kind of weird. It was just literally, I was out having a coffee, and then we just started getting poured on. But amazing weather in the afternoon. Doesn't necessarily feel like Thanksgiving or the holidays yet. But that being said, places that are open for on Thanksgiving: Crackle Barrel, the Emporium, Ever Open Cafe, Foco Cafe, Golden Corral, Jay's Bistro. And I mean, talk about this. I mean, I'm hungry already. So turkey, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, cornbread stuffing, cranberry sauce, a roll, and choice of dessert for $55 per person. Papa's Table and the Stanley Hotel up in Estes. Santa Claus will be making his way starting November 24th down in Old Town. But if you can't make it to Old Town, you can also go check out the Foothills Mall. That's where we took our kids last year to get some pictures with Santa. Actually had a really good picture. No screaming babies. We'll see how Boone reacts this year. He's about 20 months old. So let's see here. Holiday tree lighting ceremony at the Foothills Mall, November 18th. And festival lights, 5 to 8 p.m. November 17th, tomorrow in downtown Fort Collins. Now, City Council work session yesterday, they looked at the ARPA funds. We received close to $100 million between the CARES Act, ARPA funds during COVID, and we are spending those dollars. A lot of those dollars have to be spent or at least earmarked by the end of 2024. And we've only spent about $12 million of the ARPA funds. There's different funds, but we look to continue to spend that money on different infrastructure projects, affordable housing, things of that nature. The appeals process. Now, I definitely agree with Kelly Olson because I disagree with him on something else on the economic plan. But he was talking about kind of making a mountain out of a molehill. We are only averaging 4 appeals each year between the historic preservation or planning and zoning, but they're big deals. Don't get me wrong. These are probably big projects like we talked about before, that 110 unit Polestar Village. If you're in and around that area and you wanted to make an appeal, $100 and you can appeal that, and it goes through the appeals process. But it gets, apparently, because I don't know the ins and outs of that appeal process, gets pretty muddy. And what they're trying to do is just clear up that process. And but again, there's about on average 4 appeals per year. And so, yes, let's clean it up, but not pay too much attention to it because, ultimately, let's not comment. Let's not create a solution let's not create a problem out of a solution. But that being said, the kind of big discussion yesterday was the economic plan, strategic plan. We have these kind of guiding principles and guiding plans in Fort Collins. And I thought it was interesting. Here's a SWOT analysis of our economy in Fort Collins. Strengths, SWOT, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Strengths, educated workforce, beautiful community assets, quality of place, diversity of economy. Weaknesses, cost of housing, lack of affordable commercial space, insufficient workforce size, lack of diversity. Opportunities, upskill, reskill programs, retaining talent, branding and messaging consistency citywide, regionally. And then industry support for quality jobs within chip zone, life and bioscience, and climate tech, circular economy. We'll get to what a circular economy is in just a second. Threats, perception that Fort Collins is not business friendly. I was talking with, or I was listening to Jenny, and she was saying like, hey, there's specific businesses that have to go through some pretty decent hoops to get their business up and running. For me specifically, super easy to start my business. And for a lot of people, relatively easy to get a business up and going in Fort Collins. But if you are having to change use of a building and have to go through the planning and zoning, it just should maybe be less barriers for these individuals to get their business that could potentially bring a high-paying job up and running in Fort Collins. Fees and policies to build, expand, or open a business, not embracing or supporting diversity in our community and workforce, which one of the goals of the economic strategic plan is to essentially equalize our population percentages we have an 84.5% white population and a 12% Hispanic population, but only 3% of business owners in Fort Collins are Hispanic. So trying to get those population numbers to equalize. How can we help and put programs in place to provide resources, education, and understanding to those minorities that can help them begin and start businesses? Let's see here. Goal number 2 is to help businesses last longer. The failure rate for a small business. I'm grateful that my business has been up and running since 2016. Not to be without bumps and bruises. COVID 2020 was a challenge, but hey, we succeeded. We're doing well. And the goal for the economic strategic plan is that let's get more small businesses, because 97% of businesses in Fort Collins are small businesses. And that is people that have businesses that have 50 or less employees. I definitely don't have 50 employees, but we are a small business. Goal number 3, add 1,800 jobs in different sectors, clean tech, bio, kind of those things that we were talking about, climate tech. And then let's see here. Interestingly enough, Fort Collins has 57,000 jobs, but only 23,000 people that work those jobs live in Fort Collins, meaning the other 34,000 people are working in Fort Collins, but having to commute into Fort Collins. The mean commute time in Fort Collins is 20.6 minutes. National average is about 30 minutes. So we are beating that. But our goal in Fort Collins is to have these 15-minute communities to be able to work, eat, live, play, all kind of in and around a 15-minute commute. But that being said, it's definitely, we have a very strong educated workforce. 68% of Fort Collins has a post-secondary education versus 54% in Colorado and 45.9% nationally. So we are this well-educated community that is beautiful, great quality of life, trying to retain jobs and attract jobs, which is really a sticking point that happened during the city council work session. It was this conversation of, why should we attract jobs? You know, Fort Collins already has an affordability crisis, and we have a climate crisis on our hands nationally or in the world. And, you know, what Kelly Olson said was, I don't want to see electric earth movers. I want to see no earth movers. And I was like, man, that is just, ugh. You know, a no growth policy, shut the door behind you, you know, and he claimed that he wasn't about that. But obviously a comment like that doesn't make much sense. And I just did a YouTube video that's going to come out here in a few weeks about our state demography report as of November 3rd and our population expectations. And for the state of Colorado, our jobs, and ultimately people will be coming, living, and moving into and around all of Colorado, specifically that Front Range. Northern Colorado has great net migration inward, and also job creation and hopefully cool jobs. And there are a lot of cool jobs that are being built around this circular economy. That's the focus around Fort Collins, is this circular economy. And I didn't know what the heck a circular economy was until they started talking about it. We used to have a linear economy. Take, make, waste. Okay. Now it's going to be take, make, reuse, and try to find businesses within businesses that can utilize, reuse, recycle, and essentially, let's see, a reduction. So use less waste, reuse, and recycle. So that's the circular economy that our focus is going to be around these 15-minute communities, and ultimately try to support individuals here in and around Fort Collins, Larimer County, Weld County. There is a NOCO Works that there has 200 business participants that they're going to try to build, retain, and build, upskill and reskill workers. And that will help our workforce. And then it's really trying to leverage CSU, which is a tier 1 research university that has people that graduate and then have to move out because there's not necessarily a paying job right out of school that allows them to stay in Fort Collins. So how can we create jobs that allow them to generate a high enough wage that allows them to work here? I just was talking with an individual today that put his 2 weeks notice into the gym that I work at, or that I work out at. He was making $13 an hour. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't know. He might be in college. He might be, I think he's out of high school. I don't know his age. Love him to death. He's super, super nice guy. But I don't know, you $13 an hour, you 100% have a roommate or two and are just getting by. I mean, $15 an hour, you know, as far as a person that's either in college or after college, you got to be getting to that point just because, man, it is expensive. No matter what you do, not just living, eating, driving, all that good stuff. And so he's going to go find another job. But it's awesome to see like that thing like the Fort Collins Future Ready, that Poudre School District Future Ready, things like that. Trades, holy cow. My next door neighbor, like I said, who got to become or is a plumber now, killing it. So all that being said, the economic plan for Fort Collins is circulating around that circular economy, retaining, attracting, and building workforce, and specifically in and around CSU. And how can we make affordable housing around Fort Collins to where people can earn enough to live in Fort Collins, not just the 23,000 people, but the 34,000 people. That all being said, it's a dinner night for me, birthday dinner. So I'm going to go have that. I'm going to be on the wrong side of 35, or sorry, the wrong side of 30 tomorrow, turning 35. So I appreciate you guys all joining me. Have a great evening, and we will see you all next week.